welcome to Soul Sessions with Jen. I am your host, Jennifer Juvenile, and I am joined today by a very special woman who I'm so excited to introduce to you. I've known her personally for several years. She played an integral role in my own journey of healing and spiritual awakening, and she's just a magical being. So I will introduce to you Enolia Foti in just a moment. First, I want to introduce the channel, which is, this is a space that I'm creating to discuss all things transformation, spiritual awakening, healing, and I'm being very intentional about bringing on people, leaders, a lot of women who have gone through the journey of healing and awakening and are now leading their best lives and being of service in the world. And I want to share with you I want them to share with you their personal journeys of transformation so that we can peel back the curtain and see how do others overcome adversity? How have others walked the walk and stepped into their personal power to become that light in the world? Because I think if we can see how others have done it, then it shows us what's possible. And my hope and intention is that it will help you and guide you on your journey of personal transformation and awakening. So without further ado, here is Enolia Foti. Now, Enolia is a grandmother elder, an award-winning international speaker and author, global influencer, social entrepreneur, a multi-award-winning life and business coach, and global ambassador for peace. She is the CEO of Enolia LLC, Director of Operations, Vision Africa Development, co-founder of Easy Step Group Management Consulting, and CCO for Fave Unite TV. She is the founder and CEO of Expressions of Humanity Foundation, which provides emergency humanitarian aid, promotes global activism, and provides life skill training to underserved communities. Oh, Enolia, thank you for being here with me today and with the audience.
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer. You know, what an honor it is to be here with you, and although your invitation is heartfelt and everything else, you are such a gift to the world. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so touched. This is wow, just all the things that you're doing. I'm amazed at what you're doing. When I first met you, we were living in Santa Monica, and now you're living in Africa. You're in Angola, correct? Is that where you are now? Yeah.
That's
and you're doing so many wonderful things. I remember when I first met you, you told me that what you do is you help empower women. You help women step into their power, and you work with these underserved communities. So can you share a little bit about what you're doing right now with regards to that, and anything else you'd like to share?
Wow, so that's a mouthful. But I am working to empower women. I have a program I call the EAS, Empower, Achieve, Succeed, through self-mastery. A master class, and then also certified coaching program. And basically what I've done is I've created these programs so that I can take women on a journey over a period of 2.5 months to be able to self-reflect, find their power within in a different viewpoint than maybe what they're accustomed to. And in doing so, reestablishing their core foundation so that whatever they choose to build upon it can be built. So whether they choose to be an entrepreneur, a corporate woman, a spiritual leader, a thought leader, whatever that case may be, that we forget sometimes it's the solid foundation that we need to build it on, so that when we arrive in our dreams, when we arrive to that vision that we held for ourselves, we do it solidly and not falling apart once we get there. So that is the program that I'm doing. And because I'm able to do that in person and online, I have people from all over the world online taking my master class. And then I hold retreats. My next retreat will be in Spain, June 2024, June 1st, 2024, in Spain, where I actually spend 7 days taking anyone who wants to go through it, the process by which they just solidly reformulate their foundation and leave feeling just really, really well, just feeling full and just ready. So that's the journey of the empowerment. That's the journey of where I'm at and working with women. That doesn't prohibit the fact that I do workshops, different places, and I get invited to speak, and I hold speaking platforms for people to be able to speak. So all of these are contributors.
Thank you. Oh, it's so beautiful. And what it brings up in me, I wonder, you talk about bringing, helping women on that journey of empowerment and the self-mastery of it. What do you think one of the most important skills or attributes of someone who is going on that journey? Like, what is the thing that they learn the most, like that they can do or learn to step into that, like the biggest block that you've noticed of letting go? Like maybe, for example, I remember you talking about the stories that we tell each other or tell ourselves, so is that, would you say that, or is there something else perhaps like coming out of that story?
So I would say the skill that I love for people to walk away from the most is that everything we need is not outside of ourselves. It's not outside of ourselves. So every tool that you need to be aware, every tool that you need to strengthen who you are or to be a better version of yourself is not external to you. You have it already. You possess everything you need. What we need to shift is the viewpoint in which we see ourselves, and we have to shift the viewpoint in terms of how we choose to use the tools that we already possess. And when you choose to do that, and when you open up that vision of how you view yourself, when you open up your heart and lay down the fears of vulnerabilities, of how people perceive you, of the limited belief system that you might have that's preventing you from shifting and seeing a different way, then then you haven't experienced you. We have everything that we need. It's not one size fits it all. It's not apply this tool that's outside of you and press the button and it works. It's really doing the work and understanding that when I perceive that I'm not capable of doing something, I'm blocking my way, because that's a belief system that I have, and that's a reasoning and the story that I put in place to share that this is the reason why I can't do it. And we have to shift the stories. We have to look at the viewpoint a different way and say, is that truly a limiting belief? And if it is, why do I have it? Where did it originate from? And how do I shift it? How do I look at the same situation, not just one different way, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different ways? How do I approach it differently and then make it such that it could be my strength instead of my weakness? A conscious understanding of self. And to me, that's everything. So it's not outside of you. You possess it.
Which is so empowering, right? Because you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone to hold your hand. I mean, it's nice that you might need someone to hold your hand for the rocky bits, but really it's that reassurance. And yeah, to really, so it's, it's one thing like okay, I know it's inside of me. I understand that like up here, but to really understand something, it has to be embodied, right? Like you have to experience it. So what is a way that people who watch this, say they want to get in touch with that wealth of knowledge and information and support that exists within themselves? What's something that they could do at home to begin that process?
Well, number one, it's recognizing and acknowledging that the work needs to be done, because a lot of us are in denial. We're like, I'm good, I got it, or I could change. And then, you shift things for a little while and you go on your merry way. And about a month, maybe, even if it takes that long, maybe a couple of weeks, you're back in the same habit. And you're like, oh, well, this is just who I am. And so that's what happens to us, right? We decide that, oh, I can do this, blah, blah, blah. But, when we address our issues and when we look at what is really ailing us and where the pain originates, it didn't happen overnight. So why do we take on this attitude that when we're ready to heal, we're ready to be aware that it's going to be instantaneous and that it's going to happen overnight and that I got this, right? So the best thing that a person can do is that when they choose to address the hardcore issues, when they choose to want to heal, when they choose to want to be aware, first and foremost, the best thing you could do is understand that it's going to take time. That's what you can do. Repetition helps everyone, right? And repeatedly we do our dysfunctions, right? Oh, I have this pattern. Let's say it's an addiction, it's smoking. Every day I smoke, every day I go out, I sit on the porch, I have my cigarette, and then I check my messages. And then there's a repetition, there's a pattern there, there's a pattern there, there's a pattern there, right? So when we're trying to break that, where's the repetition in the breaking the cycle? Oh, well, I put it down for a day and that's it. I should have been able to do it. Oh, well, I put it down for a week. Well, I put it down for 2 weeks and I'm still feeling this. So I just got to go back to it, Well, that habit didn't come in 2 weeks. It came over years. It came over health issues. It came over 30 years of I've done the same thing. It's the same pattern. And it takes time to break it. It takes time to change the mindset. But I'll tell you this, it takes time to change down to the mitochondria and the DNA level. Right? Our DNA reads addiction came from our ancestors, addiction is here and present. And then, okay, this body has acted on that addiction. And our epigenetics basically embody that parallel. And it reads it and it goes, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this. But we can change all the way down to that level. We have to break the pattern. And it's not just breaking the mindset pattern. It's not just breaking the physical pattern of physicality, like I'm just used to doing this and I'm doing it so much that I do it unconsciously. But down to the epigenetics and the DNA where I'm like, I'm going to inform my DNA that I'm breaking this pattern. It no longer exists. I am not going to act on this pattern. And this is why repetition is so important to break things as well as engulf things, because we learn, like, for example, let's take mantras, for example. We take a mantra and we want to embody that beauty of the words, the beauty of the frequency of the words, and the beauty of that frequency informing our beings, our body. And so we repeat the mantra over and over again. We do it every day because we're informing the body about this beauty and the frequency of the words and the blessing that we want to bring to ourselves. And that's why it's been actually physically proven, scientifically proven, that if you do a mantra 21 days, 3 times a day, you literally change down to the DNA, the mitochondrial level, the being that you are with that blessing. It physically impacts you. It actually impacts you. Well, that's the same thing about unlearning something that you learned. We have to do the repetition. We have to do the breaking of the pattern, and we have to repeat that cycle over and over and over and over and over again to reinform the body, to reinform the unconscious, to reinform the epigenetics of who we are and what we do and how we choose to look at things, so that we can change the cycle by who we are and which we've been operating. And that's why anyone who thinks that they can go to one or two or three coaching sessions and go, okay, I'm fixed, I got this, it's fooling themselves. They're lying to themselves. I won't even work with someone who's not ready to sign up and work for a couple of months, 2, 3 to 6 months. Because it takes at least, what did I just say? At least 21 days to reinform the body. So how are you going to do that with 2 or 3 times? Very, very important. So the attitude by which you address coping and making that change and understanding that you have to be in it for the long haul is the best thing that you could do for yourself. So that way, when you do approach it and when you do choose that methodology by which you're going to make that difference in your life, it's meaningful.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was a long answer for a
Oh
short
no,
question.
that was beautiful. That was, I mean, I'm taking notes here. That was beautiful. And it really highlights that it's a commitment, and what came to mind towards the end of what you were sharing, I mean, I had a lot come to mind, but towards the end, I was really hearing like, no matter what, we as humans, we're committing to something, right? Whether it's something that's good for you or something that's bad for you. And whether it's unconscious or conscious. And a lot of times the negative behaviors are unconscious ones, right? And so that mantra and the fact that, it's a commitment to, when you want to change your life and experience, come out of suffering and experience, something new. Like I remember on my journey, I didn't know, I just wanted the pain to stop. And I was like, okay, spirit, whatever I have to do to not feel this way anymore, I will do. And that surrender is what brought so many beautiful synchronicities into my life, of which you are one. And so, that level of commitment to yourself, to saying, okay, whatever, I know this is going to be a journey, and whatever happens, I'm going to stick with it, And
that, I want to pause you there, because what you're saying is so important. So we go through the cycle of suffering. So I'm going to apply exactly what I just said to that cycle of suffering, right? Your body and your DNA was accustomed to the cycle of suffering, the mindset of suffering, the pain that comes with suffering, the way that things don't align up in my life that comes with suffering, the view of life that comes from suffering. And in your life, in my life, I had to break that cycle. I had to literally, and that is the addiction. The addiction is, my life is full of suffering. I'm going to suffer every day. Every day I have an expectation of suffering. I put out the frequency that I'm a suffering type person. And so therefore, this is what I encompass. This is my being. Right? Mm-hmm. And so if you even take a moment and look back at that person you were and who you are now, that's night and day, because you broke that cycle of, you completely turned around and re-implemented your foundation to say, I choose not to allow the aspect that embraces the suffering to lead my life. I choose not to vibrate the frequency that my life is just full of suffering and this is who I am. I choose to change my outlook of life and how I choose to view life as I encounter people, as I encounter relationships, as I engage in life, and I'm not going to look through suffering eyes, and that all I'm going to get is suffering back and that it's going to do me wrong. All of those things had to shift. And they didn't do it overnight. They did it over time. You started off with, I met the woman next door to me. And then I cleared out my house and I had a shaman session. Holy crap, that was different. What happened? And then, little by little, you shifted what you knew. The relationships I engage in, the people I surround myself around, more positive speaking and shifting the people that are around me, making sure that I'm around like-minded people that are around, that will remind me that suffering isn't what I do every day, but to look at life through a different lens so that I can engage the beauty of life and see the beauty that so-and-so is telling me over here and remind myself, no, don't look at suffering, look at that beautiful lens. Give an outlet to my suffering so that it's not encompassed within me, so that I can release it. And I do that. I did that through writing. You did that through writing, a place where it can escape, give it other outlets of escape, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through, walking, whatever the case may be, being in nature, laying on that ground and going, okay, take my pain, but figuring out little by little by little how I'm going to lift the veil of this pain. Right? We had to break the addiction because suffering is an addiction. Lack is an addiction. All of these things are things that we've embodied so well that we forgot that they pattern out. And then people think that it always comes under the auspices of suffering. It comes over the auspices of greed, of wanting to always be at a certain level of, like, I can't deviate from this thing. My life has to look like this. And if it doesn't look like this, then I'm suffering. So inflexibility. People who are slaves to their jobs and are afraid to make a change. People who are addicted to a standard of living and will suffer through a relationship of who they're married to or who they're with because the addiction of, I have to have this standard of living. I have to have this kind of money coming in. It comes in every viewpoint, shape, size, way. And you would go, okay, well, come on, addiction to money, but yeah, we are. I was addicted to my corporate salary. I was petrified to leave my corporate life, but it was killing me, right? So what, stay at the corporate life and then suffer the consequences of the health deteriorating. That was hard. And my health is declining and my body's telling me it can't take it anymore. And do I want to keep that suffering versus daring to step out of the corporate life and dare to say that I'm capable of bringing in funds and I'm capable of living a life of comfort the way that I deem to do it, but a different way. And daring to take.
Yeah, sorry. Let's go into that for a moment, of your personal stories. I know it's in your book that I read and loved, your first book that came out, where I'm sorry, remind me of the title. Is it called Enolia?
Yes, it's called Enolia, How I Found My Sovereign Voice with My Grandmother Elder. That's
Say
what
that
it's
again,
called.
because I think I made
Enolia, wait, I have it right here. Can I actually grab it for you? Enolia, How I Found My Sovereign Voice with My Grandmother Elder. Woohoo! Yay! There we go.
Beautiful. I love that cover. I loved the book and reading, really get it, because I know you personally, but then there were things in there I know you personally, but I don't know you so vulnerably and intimately, and you really unveiled yourself in that story. And I would love for you to share with our listeners and watchers, to just a bit of the personal journey that you did live in corporate. You were from New York, right? Were you in New York City?
Born and raised in Queens, New York, in Bayside, and went to Francis Lewis High School, and groomed for college, and went to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. I started off in engineering, and it was like, don't put me in a chemistry lab. So since chemistry wasn't my forte and I didn't have the strength across the board, I picked my favorite subject, which people are going to think I'm crazy, but that was mathematics. And I was a math major, and graduated and got married, 2 months after I left school, fell in love while I was at college, and was married for 30 years. And I'd say halfway, 3/4 through that 30-year marriage. Well, when I first got married, I worked outside of corporate for 1 year. And then second year, I found the corporate job that recruited me and found me, right? Actually, it was it's actually 5 years later. 5 years later, the corporate job found me and recruited me. And so I went with that corporation, and I designed computer networks for a living. And I eventually took and became the team leader that hired me for, to be a senior analyst. But the corporate career, I worked the 80-hour weeks. And I, traveled. We didn't have kids until I was 10 years into the marriage, purposefully, because I wanted to be ready when I had children. But when I did, I welcomed them. My heart, I was leaping for joy. I have 2 wonderful boys. And I was trying to do it all, because we were always sold that image that we could do it all. I'm super mom, 2 boys at home, and I'm doing the corporate job, and I'm a leader in that job, and I'm traveling the world and having to account for my family, taking care at home, and then coming home and being the wife and cooking and doing the wife duties and trying to do it all, and sheer exhaustion. And then it was like maybe halfway through that I was like, there's got to be better. There's got to be more to life than all of this. There's got to be. So financially, I'm set. Family-wise, I'm happy. But I was not happy. I was not happy at work. And it wasn't because I wasn't able to get fulfilling jobs or fulfilling roles or anything like that. I was just like, there's got to be more than this, because I'm in this routine. I do this. I work the 80 hours. You come home and I cook, and then I'm running the boys around, and I'm dropping off and picking up, and I'm doing the glorified, chauffeur piece. And then I run back to work. And then, it was so bad that I would get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and I'd be to work by 8. And then I work until 5. And then I cut it off at 5, and I'd go home, take care of the boys. They had a disciplined, set bedtime, got there at 7. They go to bed, and then I double back to work and work till midnight.
Oh my gosh.
And then I come home, rest, and then start all over again and get up at 6. And so when I talked about 80-hour weeks, I mean like 80-hour weeks. And it's like the discovery really came when I had this longing in my heart, and it was multifold, which was that I longed to know where I came from, because as we know in African American history, slave trade and everything, most of us don't know our ancestry. So I longed to understand where I came from. And I also discovered that I was having health issues. Health issues were starting to bubble up. So between the 2 of those, the one that really, really replicated for me was longing to know where I came from. And I eventually was like, my parents had passed, and I wanted to know where I came from. So I knew that I had Native American, indigenous roots, and I knew that I had African roots, because I had a great-great-grandfather on my father's side who married a full-blooded Native woman, and she was Cherokee. And when I looked up my name, Enolia can only be found in the Cherokee language, and it meant Black Fox. And then later, I also found that it was also in the people in Nigeria constantly heard that name Enolia. Because anyone I met in Nigeria, no, so you're from Nigeria. No, I don't know. I don't know that I am. So eventually I did a DNA test, and I'm part Nigerian and part Kenyan, and I have Cherokee. It's confirmed, DNA, it's there. So in wanting to know that, I wanted to start looking for an Indigenous grandmother. My mom had passed away, my dad had passed away. We were the eldest in our family. My sibling and I were the eldest in the family. I didn't have anyone I could go to. So in that longing in the heart, I met my first Indigenous grandmother, and she taught me, she took me under her wing. But how we met, and if you want to know how we met and all of the great things, you can read the book, read the book.
You do read the book. It's beautiful.
And I met somebody who was willing to show me a different way. And that's it. She showed me a different way to live in harmony and in peace. And really, her showing me that different way came right at the time that I needed to address my health issue. It came like a year or two right before I had the health issue. So that when I had the health issue, which my lymphatic system was literally shutting down, I had to change my diet, exercise. There had to be my food. I had to cut out all processed food, and I had to strengthen my immune system. And going through that made me realize I had to. It wasn't a choice. I had to live my life a different way or die. And it was that shift that says, I have to rebuild my life. I have to redo everything. I did a 100-mile walk across the East and West Savo parks of Kenya. And that's a journey, and that's another story. You can actually read that in the 7 Principles of Self-Mastery, my second book, or my third book, actually. And I had to do this. I walked this path. I came back. I left that journey gave me the strength to leave the corporate job and dare to step and take the leap out of the corporate job.
So let me ask
to start. Yes.
No. Is it all right if I pause you there? Because I want to ask you about that. Because so kind of going back a little bit earlier, you mentioned how when we do this work and choose life, I love that you brought up it's do this or death. It really, I have found, my mom told me this, who passed away 2 years ago, almost, that in life, there are only 2 paths really to choose, life or death. And I have found this to be true, and also reiterated in some of the sacred teachings that I've discovered. One of the main universal law is more life to all, always more life. So if we're not choosing life, we are choosing death. And you mentioned taking this leap, that's a huge, huge leap. You were married, you had children, you had a stable job. To walk away, or to say, this isn't working for me, I need something else. And to walk away from that, what people would view as stability, which you and I know is an illusion of stability, because how are you stable if it's killing you, right? That's not stability.
Exactly.
So could you talk about there are consequences, beautiful consequences, but also some challenging consequences, right? Of choosing to completely upend your life and make different choices. What were the effects that had on your personal life, and how did you navigate them?
So so many people choose death unconsciously. And when I say that, they choose death because they go, I like doing this, and the doctor said I shouldn't do it, but I have to do it. This is who I am. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I have to do this. But they don't realize that when they're saying I have to do it, they're choosing death. So for me, my lymphatic system was shutting down. And when I learned about it because I had a lump the size of a golf ball sticking out of my neck. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even realize it was there until I went to a chiropractic visit, and the chiropractor went to adjust my neck said, "Do you feel like you have a lump here?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You need to get this checked out right away." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." Well, he's like, "I'm not playing with you. You need to get it checked out." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went and I got it checked out, and through a series of tests, ultrasounds, and everything else, I ended up finding out through a neurosurgeon that I just had this lump in my neck. They didn't even tell me what it was, right? Modern medicine, meet you in 5 minutes, tells me that he'll cut it out of my neck for me if he wants, or I can wait another 3 months. It's easier to cut it out when it's hard and solidified. So in other words, let it be cancer, let it get cancerous, and then I'll cut it out because it's easier for him. I mean, what is this, right? And so at the time I had already committed to going into Africa. And so I found a beautiful, beautiful woman. She was seventh generation Chinese medicine acupuncturist, Dr. Wang. I love this one because she saved my life. And I started going to her. She accepted me as a patient. I had to go to her twice a week, every week. And I went to her twice a week, every week. But when I started with her, I was like, "Okay, well, how long will this take? Because I'm going to Africa." And she goes, "No, you're not." And I go, "Well, yes, I am. I'm going to Africa." And she goes, "Oh, no, you're not. You don't realize how sick you are." I said, "Oh, yes, I am. I'm going." And she goes, "You don't realize how sick you are." I said, "I realize you're telling me, you're informing me that I'm very sick, but you tell me what I need to do. I'll do it. I'm going." So here's number one, acceptance. I didn't accept it. I didn't accept that something couldn't be done by the time I wanted to go to Africa. So this whole scenario of and I found out half my body, my whole left side was shutting down from inflammation from this lymphatic system, and that what was sticking out of my neck was just the first indication of what was going on in the whole half of my body internally. My organs were inflamed and they were shutting down from the sheer stress and anger and upset of years of being in corporate and my attitude. And so 8 months going back and forth, I changed my diet. My mantra was there had to be food in my food. If it didn't grow out of the earth and didn't have plant implications, it did not go in my mouth. Nothing man-made went in my mouth. No starches, no breads, no nothing. And then I took vitamins for my immune system, and I had to practice walking because I was going to walk across Africa 100 miles. That was the trip. And I promised that doctor if she said that I couldn't go by the time it was a month before the trip, then I wouldn't go. I gave her that promise because I told her I was going. And a couple of months before, no, it was 1 month before, and I go to her, and I'm every 2 weeks, twice a week, every week, and I'm on my Thursday attending, and I sit her down and I talk to her, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm a month away. Please tell me what I can do." And meanwhile, I've been averaging walking like 5 miles a day, 7 miles a day. I found the walker at work that's always walking. Oh my God, the woman was just amazing, and trying to keep up with her, it just put me in great shape. And I changed my diet and everything else. And the doctor sat me down and said, "If anyone else would have told me that, I would have called them a liar. But you are at 75 to 80% completely healed. Mm-hmm. You have 25%." She said, "Go do your walk across Africa, come back and finish you up." And the reason I tell you that story is because you had to understand that when I walked 100 miles across Africa with a Maasai, the first 3 days was spent on, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? Am I strong enough? But the last 7 days, and we walked in silence, and it was only 7 of us, and we averaged 10 miles a day, was all in contemplation, and it was exactly what I needed to gather my strength. It was like having a conversation with God every single day that I walked, because I was in silence. And because all I could do was think about the surroundings that was beautiful around me, the animals that were living there, the hippos, the elephants, the lions, the antelopes, the rhinos, the It was phenomenal, but it was like all of that converged to bring me right to this point, to have that pilgrimage, to have that walk, and to understand that I had to gather the courage within me to live a different way. And could I do it? And when I finished that trip and I sat back on that Monday at my desk, and having to go right back to the same thing that I was doing, I couldn't do it. And I gave notice, and I was finished by Friday.
Oh.
So when you're there, when you know that you have to make a life-changing decision, a lot of us don't take ourselves out of that surrounding. But God took me out of the surrounding and plopped me in the middle of Africa, and I walked the East and West Savo parks of Kenya to realize that there's a relationship that we have with the land. There's a relationship that we have with the animals. There's a relationship that we have with God. And I couldn't see it because everything I was doing in corporate was distracting me away from who I was, what I was capable of, how strong I was, and where my power came from. It came from within me. And it wasn't about belittling, demeaning, or stepping on top of somebody. It wasn't divisiveness. It wasn't about carving out my territory. And it wasn't about my ego getting the best part of the conversation because everybody else's egos were vying for the same topic. It was about living and learning that there's another way to live. And there's a relationship with land, that there's a love of who I am and what I bring and the value that I bring. And it's not measured by corporate. And it's not measured by the materialistic things that I get to bring home from the salary, but it's measured by who I am and what I bring to the table and what I have to say. And is it of value? And what I do, and how is it contributing? It was a whole nother way. And that I could be smart and learn how to incorporate what I learned from that trip as my everyday being and living and practicing and working. And that's what I figured out how to do.
And so how long from there? Wow. I mean, just wow. Keep sharing that story. That I had no idea that you did that. And
that's going to be the part two of the series of the book.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't written about the part.
I can't wait to read it. Yeah. That's just incredible. I have so many questions, but I'll save those because I want to stay. Wow. So, right. Okay. So that if I'm understanding correctly, did that happen after the events of what happened in your first book in Enolia, meeting your
That's all after.
That's after. Okay. After. So you were on the path of, learning the Native American traditions, and now you're a grandmother elder, which is, please just briefly let everyone know what does that mean and what is that for those who don't know?
So it's interesting because a grandmother elder is a woman chosen among her community to embody and be that person that takes care of the community, that is there for them to help and guide you, that's there to help you energetically, that's there to help you spiritually grow, that's there to assist the community and guide the community when it's in trouble. It's there for prayer, for comfort, for a little bit of everything. Chosen and selected by the community. So when I met Grandmother Isabel Mawasaki, that's what she is for the Ojibwe Nation, for her community, her tribe. And she let me, an outsider, come in, and she embraced me for who I am and what I brought to the table. And I just learned from her, and I studied with her, and I just was able to be myself and see another way of living in harmony with the land and in harmony with everything. Another way of being. And so when I met her after working with her, I was like, I have to do this. I have to, this is what I need to be. But in order to fully protege with her, I had to relocate my family to where she lived to be with her every single day. And I couldn't do that. And so I went a different path. I ended up learning the indigenous ways through the Quiros Indians of Peru. And so I learned through the Quiros Indians of Peru, but then I met the elders and the Danyas, which is another way for grandmother, of the Quiros Indians of Peru, learning from them. They took me in their wings. And then I met grandmother Shirley from the Lakota. And then I started studying with grandmother Shirley from the Lakota. And then I met grandmother Maria Resaboru from the Apache. And I started out, and then so how my education ended up going is that I started meeting these indigenous elders, grandfather Lynch Archuleta from the Yaqui Indians, and they saw something in me. And they were willing to work with me. And so, you know how they say that some people take a winding road path to get to that place? That's what ended up happening with me. I didn't just go to one grandmother elder, grandmother Isabel Mawaski, and just say, okay, I'm going to learn the Ojibwe ways. And then that's the way that I'm going to be a grandmother elder. My community ended up being the world. It wasn't just one area. It wasn't just Northern Canada and the Sault Ste. Marie district. It was Kenya, it was New Zealand, it was Australia, it was United States, it was India, it was Nepal, it was, and I have people from all over the world that engage me, that talk to me, that are my community. It was UK. And they wanted to learn from me, and they learned from me. And I can go to any one of those places and work with people and have my community in which I engage, teach, work with, inspire, and they embrace me. And that's my community. It's Africa.
I love it.
And so when I went back to grandmother Isabel, and I was like, there are things that you have to be for a grandmother elder. First of all, you have to have gray hair and have lots of gray hair. It's a lot grayer than it looks right now because I haven't pulled back purposely. But I have gray hair. You have to have gone through menopause. And then you have to have your community, and your community has to seek you out. And she saw where my communities were seeking me out. I was in India, and I worked with a couple of schools, and I'm inspiring the kids, and I'm working with the elders there, and I'm speaking. And then I was in Nepal, and I'm working with the community there, and I'm speaking and engaging and everything. And I'm doing a retreat in South Africa. And then I'm here, and I'm doing workshops with women here. And my community was just cast so wide. It was just different. And what to embody is to assist and help and lift up your community, that the tapestry is woven. And how do you lift someone up? And you know that you can come to me anytime. You're my community, and you're there. And you know that there's groups of women in the US that are my community, that when they call me there, I'm there. I'll be going into the US, and I'm the spiritual leader for the Native Nations Festival, and the grandmother, one of the handful of grandmothers that come to the Native Nations Festival. And I have my community there, my family there, that embraces me and expects me to be there. And I work with them, and we lift each other up. And what do? We hold a free powwow for the community, to teach them about Native teachings and an indigenous way of life, and to be able to see life in a different viewpoint. So I was initiated as a grandmother to serve the community, to give back to the community that has embraced me. And that's what I do as a grandmother.
And I'm so grateful that you do what you do. I'm so grateful that you're out in the world and that you're impacting so many lives from so many different cultures all over the world. it's truly an honor to know you and to be able to call on you, it's funny, right before you said that my tribe is the world, I wrote down tribe of the world because, and it's so reflective of these changing times and the way that we're connected now. It used to be that people didn't venture too far from where they were born, and now we're connected through the internet and all these things, and we can be in touch, and you can talk to someone, you can be in Africa and talk to someone in the US or India, and it's just at the touch of a button. And so it's I wonder if, are you the first grandmother of this kind of, where you've studied from so many different teachings, and your community is the world?
I think that we're all wow, I never thought about that way. But I think that we all have a path that spirit guides us on, and this is just how I arrived at mine. My spirit name is every elder, has a spirit name, an indigenous elder, or at least from the native side. And grandmother Isabel gave me my spirit name, and my spirit name is Changing Times Woman, Changing Times Kwe. Kwe means woman in the Ojibwe language. And when I think about what you asked me, I think about the 13 indigenous grandmothers, how they came and gathered from all different parts of the world. But the difference between these powerful, powerful women versus the way that I came up to be a grandmother was that I learned from so many different parts of the world and so many different elders. But when I went to see the 13 indigenous grandmothers, there are grandmothers from all over the world. And I'm quite sure that my story might not be the only story this way. My story might be the only one that I wrote about and kind of told the world, here I am, look at me, my story is a little bit different. And I'm here, and I want to work with people all over the world. But I saw grandmothers from all over the world, grandmother from Nepal, a grandmother from, China, grandmother from, the Mayan community, just all over, and grandfathers. I don't want to exclude them either. I just did a podcast interview with a gentleman named Apabian Tu, and he is a Mayan spiritual leader, and he's a midwife. And he is like the example of the fact that, in the Mayan culture, that the men, he was taught to do what a woman would do in midwifery and delivering babies, versus, the men have to stay along here and the women stay along here. So we're coming in such different dynamics. And I just honor it. And I pray that if there's anyone who needs to relate to my story and is on that path and just needs to talk to someone because it's different for them than what the norm is, I welcome it, because I was different. But it was made very clear to me that I was an elder. I am an elder, and it's important how I embody it, because as we share the people that we're impacting, the people that you're impacting right here and right now, by having this, it means the world. And somebody's going to relate to you, Jennifer, and your story and how you brought this to fruition. And somebody will hear my story and it'll relate to what I do and how it was brought to fruition. And as a grandmother and as an elder, I'm approachable, and we share and we guide and we show that love. And we help them find that path if that's the request.
So beautiful. It's I remember when one of our conversations when we were still living near each other, it's something that's always stuck with me. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but you basically, you said that you live your life led by spirit, and you go where you're led to go. And you said it with such force, like power, with such dignity and strength and knowing it. I was like blown back, by your, I think what it really struck me was that you weren't shy about saying that to another person. One of the things that I'm working on is being open with, that I am spirit led, and that I coming out of the spiritual closet, if you will. And so the fact that you just said that, and and with conviction, it was really impactful. And I say that because I'm so grateful that you do this work and that you are available, because you have such power within you that you've claimed, and you're doing all these things. And then to say, reach out to me, I'm approachable. It's you have this beautiful balance of that power and that warmth and opening and that femininity as well, that allows others to come in and feel secure and cared for and loved. And you really emanate that. It just shines all around you. And so thank you for shining bright, for being the light that you are, and showing the way, and all the wonderful things that you have done and are doing and that you will do. And I think on that note,
I want to say this one quick thing too, though, which is that we all sit in circle. And so, that power is in you, in me, in all of us. And remember, we just started this whole conversation out about honoring what's in your heart, right? And to be able to say that I am spirit led is really to be able to trust what spirit tells me internally, because we live every moment in the unknown. We think we know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's the routine that we've put ourselves in so that we can feel like we're out of fear, but every day is unknown. And when we choose to honor that voice in us that basically says, go left instead of going right, and going, but I've been going right all week. And then, next week they're expecting me to go right. And I set up such and such a deal so that I can go right. And it's like, take the leap and trust myself and go left because spirit's telling me to go left. And then daring to do it and then doing it, and then going, okay, I have to adjust. I have to this, I have to that. Okay, I'll set it up, but I'm supposed to be here. And we all have that, but what we do is we talk ourselves out of it. Oh, I really shouldn't talk to this person. Oh, but I'd be rude if I didn't talk. And you talk to this person, and then you find yourself in a situation you shouldn't have talked to that person. I shouldn't be here. I'm not going to go to that party. Oh, come on, please go. Okay, I'll go for you. And then you get there and something happens. You go, I shouldn't have gone to that party. I should have listened to myself. And the only difference by saying that I'm spirit-led is that I truly honor when spirit says inside, go left, I go left. Go right, I go right. Don't do it, I don't do it. Do it, I do it, and I say it, even though it felt inappropriate. It felt like I shouldn't have, because my ego says not to, but I had to say it. And so I just wanted to catch that. And we all have that power. Westerners and Western education teaches us that somebody has to be on a stage and they're over us, but they're not. Mm. And that's why when we look at indigenous peoples and indigenous teachings, we sit in a circle. No one's above us, no one's below us, no one's in front of us, no one's behind us. We're in circle because we're all powerful.
That's so powerful. And I never thought about that with the stage. And that's, it just inherently.
Well, that's what we do. What do we all strive for? I want to be on stage, right? And what is the stage? The stage is one to many. Only you speaking. The many that you're speaking to can't speak back to you. Mm-hmm. You're above everybody. You're looking down on them. Mm-hmm. You're the focus. Nobody else can be attentive or have attention to, because it's all about you. And that's what Western education has taught us. And so that's why, the first thing we want to do is compete with one another when we're in a group. Who can I belittle, demean, step on, or move around so that I can be the one that's the focal point on stage, looked up to, sought after? It teaches us that. And think about that. That is so much inherent a part of us. I go back to our beginning conversation. How do you unlearn that? You don't unlearn that overnight.
Mm.
And so everything that you hear me talking about, and everything that all of the experiences and situations I've gone through have helped me unravel the patterning. And goodness knows I have plenty more, but the patterning that education has taught us, so that I could see a different way.
Thank you for showing that way, showing it to all of us and supporting us on that way. And gosh, we could talk forever. I want to do this again with you, because we can go so more in depth on so many things. But I'm conscious of your time and of YouTube's average viewer listening time. And as a I know that I only can watch a certain amount of time, no matter how much I want to watch it. Although if it's really long, I just break it down and I watch it over a few days. But yeah, gosh, I think the last thing I'd like to ask you before and I have you give some closing, anything else that you'd like to share, I want to go back to when you were talking about your walk with the Maasai, and that you walked in silence, and listening to you talk about, being in silence. Silence played a huge role at the start of my journey. I did a 10-day Vipassana silent meditation retreat that totally changed everything. Like I became in touch with what was going on with me all of a sudden. And I realized I had this epiphany like a couple of days in, I'm in silence. And I had been so excited to go into silence because I felt like everything was so noisy. I was living in LA and I'm like, oh, it's just so noisy. And I get into silence and I'm 2 days in and I'm like, it's still noisy, like, where is this noise coming from? And I realized the noise was coming from within me. And it was a breakthrough. And so, and I think with a lot of people and a lot of people who've gone on the spiritual path, silence plays a huge role. So if you could say a few words about the importance of silence and on the healing journey and on the path, and anything else that comes to you.
So this is a wonderful question, because I have a whole thought process about all of this, which is, when you're conscious of where you live and who you are and what you're doing today in your day-to-day living, if you notice what's going on around you, then what you're going to notice is that the system by which we live is set up to make sure that you don't go in. So you used to be able to go to a doctor's office and sit quietly until you were called. You used to be able to sit on the grocery store line and just think, while people are transacting. You used to be able to go and get gas and have silence while you're sitting there just doing class, the menial tasks of the day, right? What do we find in those places now? The television.
Yes.
Music, something to distract, commercials. What society is doing right now is that they are creating so many distractions and so many things that make sure that your thought process is interrupt driven every single day, creating noise when it's unnecessary, so that you can't think. That all you're doing is getting constant input so much that you can't sit quietly. You talked about not being able to do it for a couple of days. I talked about for 3 days, I was like, the noise in my head. Am I going to make it? Do I have enough water? What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Am I strong enough? Oh my gosh. It took 3 or 4 days for my head to quiet down to the point where I was like, oh, that eagle is soaring. And then I have a connection with that ego. And then while I'm walking, I'm sorry. Oh, that hippo pod is only 20 feet away from me. And hippos are some of the most dangerous animals. But the peace that they have and the playfulness and connecting with them and seeing the beauty in them and feeling their beauty and feeling their love of one another. That silence is our power, and it's being taken away from us purposefully so that we can be the sheep. So if you're not thinking, then you're just adhering. You're adhering to the rules, you're adhering to the noise, you're adhering to the distraction. And then what happens is that when the noise isn't being created, we're creating the noise ourselves with our self-talk. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not smart enough. Oh, they're going to be upset with me. Oh. And then what we do is we lead fully by our emotions, and our emotions become the distractions that fill in from when the TV and the framework of the surroundings of us aren't the distraction. And we don't think with clarity. We lose our focus. Why does society tell us that we can only do small sound bites? We are intelligent beings. And so now, instead of you being able to sit for a 2-hour movie, a 3-hour movie, and it's intelligence and it's a documentary, and you're taking notes like anybody else, and you're like, oh, I need to get up, I need to stretch. Okay, you do. You come back and you do what you have to do. Oh, no. If you don't do it in 30-second sound bites, you'll never keep them. What is that? That is a grooming process to ensure that you don't think. And we have to. If I can't keep your attention for more than 30 seconds, frankly, I don't want you as a client or a customer. That's a problem for me. If I have to do 30-second sound bites in order to get you interested in me and get you interested to say that what I have should appeal to you because it's going to bring wisdom, it's going to seek your intelligence, it's going to seek your focus, and you need to submerge within it, and you're not capable of keeping more than a 30-second focus or sound bite, I don't want you as a client. I want to work with you. I want somebody who can focus, who can sit down and read a book, who can sit down and say, okay, today I think I'm going to focus on planting and do it for a couple of hours and have their hands in the earth and not go, oh, this is too long. I got to go. I got to check my phone. I have to multitask. We're losing self. We're losing a part of us that is so important. My mother used to say that the mind is a muscle and you must exercise. And when we prevent ourselves from focusing in silence, focusing on a book, focusing on one task at a time. By the way, there's no such thing as multitasking. It just means that you're doing small sound bites on one task at a time, and you just like this instead of just, I'm doing this first. When I complete this, I'll get to the next thing.
Yes.
So silence is imperative to keep wisdom. Silence is imperative to keep intelligence. Silence is imperative to keep the connection with God, with spirit. It's imperative. Silence is imperative in order to be able to have a clear mind to draw a connection with nature, with beings, with animals, with relationships, with the love, externally and internally, that we share and that we receive, to acknowledge it, to see it for what it is versus a preconceived notion of what we perceive it to be, because we're so busy going like this, up and down, in short bites. It's imperative. And if you're not seeking silence, you should be. And so when we talk about that healing journey, and when we talk about the fact that we want to value that which we have inside, well, you need a silent time or period of time so that you can close off all of the self-limiting distractions and all of the external distractions so that you could dare to have a conversation within to actually see who you are and to love that which is it within you. Because everything is set up to distract you from doing it. And so I'll leave it at that.
Powerful, powerful words, and words to live by. So maybe you could leave us with just what is someone, really what came to me is we need to cultivate silence, by all means, go out and go on a retreat or what have you. I do think it's imperative to at least have that experience once, but for people who maybe want to dip a toe in, just cultivating silence, if you can't get it outside, to do it in your home, turn off the TV, turn off the phone, and give yourself some moments of silence, of stillness. It's just even 15 minutes in the morning or in the evening can make a huge difference.
Menial tasks. Do your menial tasks in silence. Just do your menial tasks. I got to sweep the floor. Sweep the floor in silence. 5 minutes of silence.
Yeah. Doing the dishes. Silence. I agree.
Ride your bike and don't have something an earplug in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Take a walk on the beach and don't have your earplug in your ear. Like, hear the ocean, the birds going through. Music is a beautiful thing too. And the right kind of music and frequencies is a beautiful thing too. But there is a frequency of the world that you're missing because it's plugged in with so much noise. And you're missing that frequency. There's a conversation to have with the ocean and a connection. There's a conversation to have with the universe and the connection by lying back and just going, okay, I'm going to look at the sky in silence. And we're missing that.
So let's go find it. Yes. Oh, thank you, Enolia, for sharing your energy, your wisdom, your love with us here today. And I look forward to doing this again. This has been so fun.
I'd love to.
Yes.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Oh, yes, I would love to. Because there's just so much more that we can talk about and that we just can't get to in one video. So thank you very much. Please let everyone know, how can they find you? I'll put your links down below in the description, but how can people find you if they want to work with you, if they want to take your masterclass, read your books?
So everything is on my website at www.enolia, and right here, as you can see how it's spelled, ENOLIA.live. Everything is on there, and you can get in contact with me via email there. You can sign up for my newsletter and everything else. Everything that I have is branded Enolia, and there's not that many Enolias out there. And so on Facebook, I'm Enolia. On Twitter, I'm Enolia. On LinkedIn, I'm Enolia. And on Instagram, I'm Enolia. So you can't miss me. Or Enolia Empowers. On Instagram, it's Enolia Empowers. So people can reach me that way, and you can DM me. It's totally fine. And you can look up my website, and you can use the contact through my website, and info@enolia.live for my email. So I welcome.
Wonderful. Well, I highly recommend anyone who's feeling that soul calling. If you're having a pull, do reach out to Enolia, read her book, Enolia, How She Met Her Sovereign Grandmother. And you have 2 other publications out right now as well, don't you?
Yes, I do. Excuse me. I have Enolia, this is my book, and then I have the comparable journal to this. Actually, it's just easier for me to show it, so I'm going to actually show it. But I have the comparable journal, which is Discover Your Sovereign Self journal. And what I do is I do the lessons learned chapter by chapter of this book, and then I relate it to you and how you can relate to it, and I have affirmations in here and all kinds of great stuff. And then I have the 7 principles for self-mastery, And this goes hand in hand with my master class. So if you read this, you get excerpts of a lot of the things that I shared with you here, little excerpts, just a teaser of the story, and the 7 principles that I use within the masterclass that are internal to you. They are not external to you. And then I also have Know Thyself, a 30-day program to conscious living. If you are new to self-awareness, you purchase this book, and you also will get the videos. If you go on my website, you'll see the book and the videos. And it's a video a day for 30 days, along with the excerpts in this book for 30 days. And it just introduces you to the questions and contemplations that you can ask yourself for conscious living. And so those are my four babies.
Oh. Well, thank you for sharing that and of yourself. And I love you so much. Thank you, Enolia, for being here.
I love you too. And thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I'm so excited for you. And you are such a blessing and a light to this world. So thank you. I'm honored to be your friend, and I'm honored to be here with you. So thank you.